In 1967, a fake TV band called the Monkees secretly outsold the Beatles and the Rolling Stones combined. While critics wrote them off as puppets, but how did four total strangers, chosen from a Hollywood casting call, hijack the music industry and unsettle the meaning of authenticity and pop? The shocking truth isn't what you think, and the reveal starts at the first audition. September 1965. Outside Columbia Pictures, 437 hopefuls lined up, each clutching a headshot and a dream. The ad called for 4 insane boys, but what producers found were 4 lives at a crossroads. Davy Jones, fresh from a Tony nomination for Oliver, carried the polish of a seasoned performer, but behind the charm was a teenager far from home, still chasing his next break. Mickey Dolenz, once a child star, now faced the end of his acting career and the uncertainty that followed. Mike Nesmith, a Texas folk singer with bills piling up, showed up in a wool hat and refused to leave his laundry in the car, a detail that would soon become his signature. Peter Tork, the last to arrive, had been washing dishes in Greenwich Village, scraping by on club gigs after a tip from his friend Stephen Stills, who'd already been turned away. Inside, the auditions were chaos. Producers pulled chairs out from under the nervous, threw out improv games, and watched for sparks. Nesmith's dry wit and Tork's gentle oddness stood out. The chemistry wasn't instant friendship. It was a collision of personalities. But that tension lit up the screen. The winners weren't chosen for matching looks or shared backgrounds, but for how their differences played off each other. The transformation was immediate. Within weeks, the 4 were in the studio, not as a band, but as voices for songs already written by hitmakers like Neil Diamond, Carole King, and the team of Boyce and Hart. Session musicians played the tracks. The Monkees added vocals, sometimes recording harmonies late into the night, often without knowing the full story behind the lyric. The industry called them the Pre-Fab 4, a nod to their manufactured origins. But inside the studio, each Monkee brought a piece of themselves to the sound, even as the machine around them promised fame on someone else's terms. September 12, 1966, delivered something American television had never seen. The Monkees debuted on NBC, and every week millions watched as 4 mismatched faces sprinted through a new kind of musical chaos. Instead of static stage performances, each episode exploded with rapid-fire edits, slapstick chases, and surreal visual gags. Songs weren't just played. They became mud self-contained stories, cut together with dizzying speed and jump cuts. These sequences, stitched into the sitcom's plot, looked nothing like the variety shows or concert specials of the time. They were music videos in everything but name, a full decade before MTV would make the format famous. This new style didn't just entertain. It rewired how audiences connected to music. Viewers saw Davy Jones croon in a dreamlike montage, or Mickey Dolenz bounce through a kaleidoscope of color, the music pulsing in sync with the edits. The show's Emmy-winning format made the Monkees' songs feel like personal adventures, not just background noise. But the price of this innovation ran deeper than ratings. The Monkees became public property overnight. Fans chased them down streets, expecting the wisecracks and hijinks to continue off-screen. Every interview, every appearance demanded the same relentless energy and charm. There was no off switch, no real life outside the TV frame. Behind the laughter, exhaustion crept in. The freedom of fictional stardom became a kind of trap, one that would soon test the limits of even the most resilient Monkee. Don Kirshner's grip on the Monkees tightened with every hit. But behind the scenes, resentment was boiling over. The band's faces were everywhere, on TV, in magazines, on cereal boxes, but their voices were missing from the music that bore their names. The final straw came in early 1967, when Kirshner released a single without telling them. Mike Nesmith, never one to back down, stormed into a Beverly Hills hotel suite, pointed to a wall, and told Kirshner, "That could be your head up there." The room went silent. Days later, Mickey Dolenz dumped a Coke over Kirshner's head, a fizzy act of rebellion, that made the band's anger impossible to ignore. Kirshner was fired. The Monkees seized control of their music, determined to prove they were more than a TV gag. In the studio, they wrote, played, and produced their third album, Headquarters. Every drum beat, every bass line, every harmony belonged to them. Nesmith led the charge, pushing the group through marathon recording sessions, refusing shortcuts. Wait a minute, I'm fixing to walk out there in front of 15,000 people, man. If I don't play my own instruments, I'm in a lot of trouble. That was Nesmith's answer to anyone still calling them fakes. Headquarters shot to number 1, only to be overtaken by the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper. The critics who demanded authenticity finally got it, but the victory felt hollow. The pressure didn't vanish. It only changed shape. The band had won their freedom, but the cost was exhaustion, and the creative prison they'd smashed was replaced by a new kind of burden, living up to their own ideals, with no one left to blame. Peter Tork's Laurel Canyon house turned into a magnet for every lost soul in Los Angeles. At any hour, the pool was full, the stereo was blasting, and half the guests had nowhere else to go. Jimi Hendrix dropped by to jam. Pete Townshend wandered through for a night. The chaos was legendary, but the exhaustion ran deeper. Tork, who had once scraped by as a dishwasher, now found himself surrounded by strangers and noise, longing for quiet. The freedom the Monkees fought so hard to win had become another kind of cage. By the end of 1968, Peter couldn't do it anymore. He sat down with the lawyers and paid $160,000, almost everything he had, to break his contract. On December 30th, he walked away from the Monkees, leaving behind sold-out arenas and a fortune in future royalties. Within months, he was waiting tables in Northern California, the money gone, the fame evaporated. Mike Nesmith would follow a year later, paying the same penalty to escape. With the group in pieces, their next move was a gamble that stunned everyone. Teaming up with director Bob Rafelson and a young Jack Nicholson, the Monkees filmed Head, a surreal, experimental movie that mocked their own image and the machinery that built them. The film was released in late 1968 to near-empty theaters. Fans expecting TV hijinks were baffled. Critics dismissed it as self-indulgent. The Monkees' shot at artistic freedom had turned into a commercial disaster. For a moment, it looked like the story was over. MTV's summer schedule in 1986 unleashed something nobody saw coming. Reruns of the Monkees' original series, beamed into living rooms across America, suddenly became the network's highest-rated programming block. Viewer mail flooded in. Teenagers who weren't even born during the original run started taping episodes, memorizing lyrics, and demanding more. Concert promoters took notice. By July, 3 Monkees, Mickey, Davy, and Peter, hit the road for what Mickey Dolenz called just the biggest tour of the summer. Arenas packed out, tickets vanished, and the band found themselves at the center of a new wave of monkey mania. Critics who once wrote them off watched as a new generation claimed the music as their own, proving that even after 2 decades in pop culture exile, the Monkees could still spark a nationwide frenzy. The numbers tell a story critics never wanted to admit. The Monkees landed 16 songs in the U.S. Top 40, with 4 reaching number 1. In 1967 alone, their album sales topped 6 million in the United States, more than the Beatles and the Rolling Stones combined that year. These weren't flukes or accidents. Their catalog, from I'm a Believer to Daydream Believer, became radio staples and inspired hundreds of covers. The so-called Pre-Fab 4 didn't just survive the one-hit wonder label, they demolished it. Their approach, assembled through auditions, powered by outside songwriters, and promoted through television, became the blueprint for every pop supergroup to follow. From the Jackson 5 to modern K-pop. Manufactured or not, their influence shaped the sound and strategy of pop music for decades. In 1967, the Monkees sold more records in the U.S. than the Beatles and the Rolling Stones combined, according to multiple industry reports from the time. Despite being assembled through a 1965 casting call and managed by studio executives, The group delivered 16 top 40 hits and 4 number 1 singles, outperforming many of their peers. Their rebellion against corporate control led to genuine creative output with the Headquarters album. Though commercial momentum faded, key production documents confirmed their struggle for artistic autonomy. But some details, like the exact intent behind certain lyrics, remain debated among historians. When MTV revived their show in 1986, ratings proved a new generation valued their music and innovation. Today, the Monkees' influence is recognized in how pop acts are assembled and marketed worldwide. The evidence shows they were never just a manufactured product. They became a blueprint for modern pop and a lasting reminder that even the most unlikely origins can create real cultural impact.